Hey, this is Debbie, and I am here today with my amazing co-host,
Tricia.
Yay. And we are here with our podcast, Your Life Redefined. This is the place where we talk about those things in life that are nothing but opportunities where we get to do what, Tricia?
Redefine things that may not seem like they're the best thing for us, but guess what? Nothing happens to us, it happens for us, and that's what we're here redefining.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie and Tricia with Your Life Redefined. It's just us tonight, Tricia, on this podcast thing.
You know what? That was our intent initially back in 2013 or whenever the heck that was. For us just to be sitting there talking and to see what organically pops up. But then we've got so many really cool guests that we can have on. And so it's really easy to fill that slot. But last night I was laying there in bed and I just thought, you know what? I want to have just talk with you. Whether this makes the podcast or not.
I know.
I don't care. I don't care. It's like our scheduled time because we are both like super, super busy now, and which is really odd seeing as how I just retired. That means I got a new set of wheels, right? Remember, I think I said that before? Mm-hmm. Which is so funny. And I'm just going to be talking here, Deb. I thought that I would be just doing nothing. In fact, like when Joe left this morning, he said, well, what do you got on your agenda today? Like, I'm going to be just sitting there eating bonbons and watching TV or something. And I had already made out this thing. Well, I said, well, I've got 1 hour of this, 1 hour of the sound bowl class, 1 hour of the meditation class. I got to be on a podcast for an hour. And I've got the, So anyway, he was like, okay. But you know what it reminded me of?
What?
When I first started Design Group back in 1996. And I started working out of the house, and I would sit there and work too much. I mean, like I would find myself still there at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that was back when things would, shut down to batch, all that kind of stuff. I remember one day, and I might have told you this before, but I was upstairs and I was running downstairs. And I was going to throw my clothes in the laundry, and then run back upstairs and get in the shower. So I was naked. Yeah. And my phone rang on my desk, Well, thank God that was way before video, Yeah. I sat my bare butt down and I worked, and the next thing I knew, it was like 4:30 in the afternoon and I had been sitting there naked all day. So, no, but it kind of reminds me of that because, I'm not getting any freaking exercise except for from there to here.
Yeah.
And I barely get up to, like, Sage called me at 4:30 and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm eating lunch. She said, do you know what time it is? And I said, yeah, I just saw. But I was like eating black beans sitting right here.
Yep. That's how it's been for me too for the past couple weeks because of all the content, right? And the writing of the book, and then got clients and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, it's like now, 6:00 at night.
Let me ask you about your writing of your book and this, because I know from talking to you that you've gotten very focused, very aligned, where it's not feeling like a chore right now. Tell me how that's been feeling and flowing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to write a book for a while, right? And it would feel like a chore. Now, I don't write every day. I know some people are like, I set aside an hour or whatever every day. I don't do it every day. I do it when I feel inspired. And then when I feel inspired, it flows. And when it flows, literally time will just go away. And the next thing I know, I have, 40 pages done or whatever, and it's just flowed.
Let me ask you this, because when you say inspired, because in my downloads, that's what it is constantly saying. Get aligned and then get aligned, get inspired, and then do whatever. And it does just flow. And you said how time's just flying. Well, time is a construct of being human. We've created time. It doesn't really exist. All we've got is
That's true.
right now. And when you're in that zone, like what you've been being in,
Yeah.
it just flies. What I've noticed is when I'm doing something that I'm feeling inspired to do, yes, it's flowing like that. But when I start doing something that it's like roadblocks popping up, it makes me have to go, pause. Sarah actually mentioned this today because she said she was doing a project, Sarah Connell, which is Debbie's coach, and I'm on a podcast, not podcast.
It's a visibility project. Yeah,
Yeah,
workshop.
it's
that
like a
she's
workshop. And she said that all of this really things that you would consider bad, which we know is there is no bad or good, it's just a perspective, was happening when they were trying to do something with YouTube from her Facebook content to YouTube or something. But every roadblock that came up, and it was like she could either go to the feeling of, well, I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is the universe telling me I'm not supposed to be doing this. But she said instead it was stop what you're doing and you're having to go a different path. You're going down a different path. And now it ends up that even though that was really horrible, painful, all that kind of stuff, like, being hours and hours on the phone with Meta or with YouTube, you can't get real people, that she actually, that they know that it was for the good. So when we listen and pay attention to roadblocks, because if you don't and you just keep forging ahead, like what I was doing today, and you keep pushing through, it's going to keep popping up, and it'll show up in different ways. So what mine was doing today is I'm supposed to be editing down my original downloaded content starting from 2013, 2019. It was sporadic.
Yeah.
But the person I'm working with, the editor, she said, pick out 111 of them. When I said, but I feel like I'm aborting. Those are like my children,
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, don't think of it as that. Think of it as that you're choosing something. I said, okay, I could do that, right? And I pulled up the document, shared Google Docs or whatever, and I started going through, and I swear I have edited, deleted some of these same ones that keep popping back up, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Either I have duplicated them a bunch of times, which I don't think that's the case, or they do not want to be edited. They do not want to be deleted, and they keep mushrooming back up. And I'm like, so I finally just told her, I said, look, either we can go with just all new content that's like very, that's straight from my blog or very precise and clear. But I think it's supposed to be the story of, because those early ones, it'd be like Tricia asking a question, Metatron answering. What is this? Here's the answer. Now it just comes through very clear, So anyway, sometimes I feel like I've spent 6 hours and I look back and not a damn thing got happened.
Yeah. Wow. You remember the Conversations from God series?
Yes.
And he did those in 3 different series, and they morphed, as you went along.
Is that right? I read one of them, and so maybe that's it. Maybe it's.
I'm almost seeing, is it small books that graduates into, because you're taking the reader on a journey learning. Well, why wouldn't you also be on?
Debbie, let me tell you one thing. And I cried yesterday, and I might do it again now. I don't know. So the content of the book that, this has been a long time coming, right? And the content of the story leading into it. I never have wanted it. It's not a memoir. It's not my story, but it is, how did I become the person receiving these messages, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have a big part of that. So I sent it to this editor, and she took it from what was 40 pages down to 4. And when she was telling me that, I was thinking, oh no, I don't think that can happen, But I read, and it was still my words, but somehow it was like a sponge, and she just squeezed it, and the sponge is still there, but all came out. And when I read it, I cried. And you, Deb, are a really big, important part of it.
You're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry. You know, it's the word that's coming to me is trust the process. You know, and what are you hanging on to, right? That you still will always get to hang on to it. Always. Right? But for your story, is it that? The other thing too that came to me too the other day, remember way back at that time in we were doing Course of Miracles, or I was reading Course of Miracles.
I was too.
Yeah, and you'd be like, and then eventually you go, how do you read it? I'm like, just read a sentence. Just read a paragraph. But remember, we'd read it. And it's that type of thing for me with you. It's one of those, is it just a progression? It's a progression of a story.
Speaking of the Course of Miracles, that was actually mentioned in one or two of the downloads.
That's cool.
You know, from early on. Debbie, you are more like you're very methodical and you go by this. And Tricia, especially Tricia of the past goes, well, no, I still am this way. I can't lie. But I go, tell me, get to the bottom. Let me say what I'm supposed to do. So even on Course in Miracles, I mean, I did read a lot of it, but I went to the practices at the end. I went straight to the end because it has all of these things that you can do.
Yeah, you tell me, walk around, just look at that. And I'm like, I'm not there yet.
So, yeah, like one part of it, and I still think of this to this day. I mean, I bet you at least once a month I think of this to this day. One of the exercises was go out into the world and see everything as if it's new. Like, how did it get there? What made it? So I see mailboxes and I'll think, what are those stick things coming out of the ground with the thing on it? What is that? I mean, you know, or if I see somebody with crutches or a wheelchair, you think, what is that contraption? I mean, it's that kind of curiosity.
Yep. It's curious. I love Course in Miracles. It's
me
just
too.
one of those, isn't it? It just, that's how I have viewed too. Like when your things come through in the morning, you know, the ones that we get, the breath of abundance. Those are like my morning feeds, you know, and it just is, it's cool.
Well, me too, Deb. You know, I don't know what it says until, like I've told you, I post it and then I listen to it. And thank you for sending me anytime you catch some typo edit.
It just is, because it's the way you do it and the way you download it. So it just works like that. I had something happen today. I'd love your thoughts on it. So I was at the dentist. I have an amazing dentist. So we were talking and the topic of my book came up. I have so many books that I get fourth of the way, a half of the way, you know, 3/4 of the way. Very, very few of my books do I get all the way through. I don't know about you, but sometimes you get about 3/4 of the way through and you feel like the book is repeating itself. Or it's like, we've already talked, because I read a book very methodical. And so it's got to take me on a journey. And it's like, okay, you're already saying this. We're repeating it again. Several of the books are like that. And
What type books you talking about, though? Not fictional, then. These are not for, like, just entertainment purposes?
correct. Oh, definitely not fictional. These are like all your self-help books and things like that.
And what is the title of your book, if you don't mind me asking?
Mine is called Expand in Life, Leadership, and Love. And so I want it in 3 sections, right? Life, leadership, love. And then how, from an expand standpoint, I believe you're always expanding. It's what are you expanding, right? If you weren't to look at it good, bad, right, wrong, so it's energy, right? You're expanding energy. So if you're expanding frustration, or if you're frustrated, what are you expanding? Frustration. So it's more of a challenge from that perspective. So anyway, in it, when I write and I work with my editor, she is, you could expand. I wanted you to go further here. I wanted to learn more. And I'm super thrilled that she's learning, but I'm doing the book in such a way that you could get up and literally read chapter 3 in life today. Say tomorrow you want to read in the love section. It's not like a beginning to end type book. And then today I was talking with my dentist and she goes, you know, now she didn't know that I did all this and how I was originally going to write the book. She goes, there's one thing about books. She says, she goes, I have a hard time even thinking about a book that I finished. By the time I get about halfway through, I'm done with the book and I'm ready for the next one I've been told about. And I just went, Wonder how many other people are like that. So,
Well, that's what that's what I want mine to be. I call it a bathroom book.
yes.
Meaning it can sit there and somebody can pick it up while they're in the bathroom and
Right.
read one part of it and allow it to marinate.
Yes.
To simmer. I mean, because I think that's what you're saying. The downloads that you get from me that's what they do. That's what they do to me. They're like just a little, here's something to think about.
I call them thought shifters. So they just, is what we call them, as thought shifters. It just shifts your perspectives, and you go, and then you're able to think. It's like walking out. Why is that stick thing there with that? Yeah. And it brings in, the mailbox. It brings in that pondering piece where because that's where it shifts. I mean, I think, one of your downloads, it was either today or yesterday, talked about that perceptions, versus perspective, and all of that's where shift and change comes from.
It wasn't today, but I do want to ask you about this. So I've had so many people, I basically live under a rock. If I watch something on TV, it's usually something that I go in and I see one little part of it and I get back out, right? But I had so many people mentioning the alignment of the planets. Well, I didn't know that was going on even the last couple of days, apparently. Apparently it must be a big deal. So, and then my download today was about as above, so below, and that their planets and the stars are aligned, and that we internally are lining up too. But it also said that we're going to be going through bursts of energy, and it made me think of you. Bursts of energy, and then you're going to have a rest period, that you're going to go into like a hibernation of sorts, and you need to not get upset with yourself about it, or me about it, and you just allow the rest. And then when you come back, and it didn't sound like it was long, I mean, there's no time, right? But when you come back, you'll be even more. So you're the image that popped into my head whenever I was receiving that. That's why I sent that to you.
No, that's really valuable, because I'm notorious for, I work really well in the burst. It feels good, right? I could just literally live there and just hours and hours. However, since this weekend, I've started feeling the drag, and it's like, okay. What?
Well, that's what it said.
Yeah.
It said, allow yourself that. Yeah. And it said, actually, what did it say? Something about that's when you're being, it's really powerful to allow yourself that rest. Because when you come out, you're going to be more voracious, more energetic, and even more on fire than you were before.
That's cool. No, I appreciate that, because it's been, this past week, I got huge downloads.
Yes, because I think you and me, we are alike in this respect, where we think, well, if we've been, a graph does not continuously go like this, right? If you look at each day of a stock market graph or anything else, even if it's trending this, it's never like that. It's like this and this and this and this and this and this.
That's good.
And but it overall does. Now, if you tried to do it at that peak like that, you would have a total burnout, and you'd have a stock drop.
Yeah, you would. That's actually really good. Yeah, and I sit there and I'm like, you need to just give yourself time. Give yourself rest. Because I'm finding when you live in that zone, I think you said, what was it, gamma waves?
Yes.
Yeah, when you said that, and I thought, because I was losing blocks of time for memory because I lived in that zone, but it's obviously the gamma waves. And when you're there for such long, extended periods of time, you literally just sit going, who am I? What day is it? Where am I? And it takes a little while to get back and to come into some form of reality, if that makes sense.
So it's all creating, right? We're creating all the time. And so when you mentioned about gamma waves, let me just say that. So there's beta waves, which is our everyday waking state. There's alpha, where you're in you're in your little bit of a tone down zone, you're resting. And then you're in a delta's when you're sleeping. Theta is before deep sleep, before delta, and that's when you're in the hypnotic state. So like when I'm doing
So my downloads actually come.
yes,
Or the morning
a lot
ones.
of times.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm doing people's past life regressions or regressions, they're actually in that theta hypnotic state where all of that can come through. It's because your thinking brain is offline and your left brain scoots over and
Yeah.
allows all this to kind of flow in. And then gamma that's a channeled state. When you're in a really high, they don't even know a whole lot about it, your high frequency rate. So people who are artists and they're just in the flow and they're probably in there painting all day and don't realize that
Yeah.
the whole day's gone by, or musicians that are
Yep.
being super creative, they're in that state.
It's hard for me to come out of it though because I like it so much.
It feels
Oh, it feels amazing. And what drains me is that other people need me or want me. Like, don't want me right now.
but isn't that cup we talked about?
It is.
It's like you got to let your cup overflow, because if you allow those drains to come out before your cup's all the way full, you will never get filled. You'll feel like, oh my God, you're draining energy, you're draining everything, and you never get to your height. So shoot, let it and overflow. They will get watered and fed. Put them on the back burner.
Just
If you set an intention and know that it is already created, we are in the inspired creative state. We can all get to where we want to go by effort, but it is paltry compared to what we get done when we are in the inspired creative state, which when we're in the expansive state of that. So just because things are unknown, like breathwork, like mindfulness, like meditation, like sound healing, like anything to get your cells and your body all in line, like water, your body and your not conscious mind, but subconscious mind will start the work without you. It's like set it and freaking forget it. You set an intention and know that it is already created. It is happening, and all you got to do is line up with it and it'll pop into your existence.
right. Yeah.
The
yeah.
God's honest truth.
Yeah. Nope. It's
All of them.
yeah. All of it is, and that's where it's that piece I've started like, okay, this is it. This is my intention. Now show me how to align to it. Now the show me how to align to it. The biggest thing for me going through everything that I've done, somewhere in my crazy brain years ago, I had this. The limo was going to pull up in my driveway and there would be the PR person and everybody would want me. No, I'm just saying. And so therefore there was just, I don't know where that thinking came from, but if it was effort, it was work, right, for me. Now you have to choose what it is that you want. You just have to choose. And so for me, the whole learning process that I've done is I can stay doing it the exact same way that I'm doing it, but is my light where I want my light to be?
But the key is enjoying it. So we're like right
In
now,
ease.
in ease. We're both in this stage, which
Yep.
we're going right. Arm
So
in
funny
arm.
that we're arm in arm. I know, the learning.
Yes, we're in this learning stage, so it's exciting, and we get to do this new stuff. We get to do this podcast. I've seen these people on this one podcast, like little website thing, where they're like, "How do you get started? I got to have this, this, this," and I was like, "Well, dang, Debbie and I just threw a camera up there and started."
Got on Zoom and just did it.
Is it perfect? Hell no. But are we enjoying it? Yes. Even if it's the only time that you and I get to really, really, or get to have somebody super cool and interesting on the show.
Talk too.
I have no doubt that you and I are just on this fun freaking ride together.
Right now, I know for you and I, and it's happening so fast. Nothing is being discounted. It's like nothing has been wasted.
Nothing.
And I don't feel that at all.
And you know what's so cool? We had no idea at the time what we were going through, that we were going to come back together, that things were going to be happening. And there's so many other cooperating components, people, places, things, all of that kind of stuff. But it's just so satisfying. And here's the thing. I don't want anything. I'm not lacking anything. Want it has the vibration of lack. Mm-hmm. I have desires, but I put them out there and I know that they're going to happen. Do I have the how it's going to happen? Do I have to know what it's going to look like? Yeah. Do I have to see myself doing whatever it is? No, because I know that it'll probably be a whole lot better the way the universe delivers it to me than the way I could think it up, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that you changed want to desires too. I've really, from the closing of 2024, again, in the action, accountability, follow-up, all that stuff we did is like ask for what you want, ask for what
Now, there is a very different energy when you're training, ask for what you want, because people have been they don't fully ask. So it's a totally different energy with that. But shifting from what do you desire versus, what do you want?
It's expansive. Mm-hmm. And a want feels like I don't have it and I'm not sure if I can have it. It's almost like the same difference. It's subtle. Almost the same difference of being grateful for something and being appreciative.
Yeah. Because you and I have talked about it. And I spell grateful now. I actually had to write for this lady. She asked me, she called me, she goes, do you do a gratitude practice? And I said, yeah. And she goes, would you mind being a part of my book? Da, da, da. Well, you and I had already, and there's such a difference when you're at appreciation versus gratitude. And I never saw it till you challenged me with that. And I just thought, God, that's beautiful to really think about gratitude as, it's still a form of judgment because you're having to consciously choose, right? What are you grateful for? So I started writing her chapter and going into this whole expansion piece. So it's GREAT and then FULL, full of greatness. And so that's how I spell grateful now. Really is when you start looking at our language and allowing yourself, because you and I have been huge on words anyway. Words is just massively huge because it's lines on a piece of paper. I'll never forget when you first did words. They're just lines on a piece of paper. I'm like, what the hell? I don't know if you remember that. I was like, I do. But then I sat there and I went, it really is just lines on a piece of paper. It's where the commas go, or the inflection, the meaning.
It's what you infuse into it as well. Now, I used to do this to my kids. I'm telling you, when they were in like 4th grade, because it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. Well, lines on a piece of paper, but also words. We give them the meaning, and it's with the intent behind them. So like, 4-letter words. I used to tell my kids, I said, it doesn't matter if it's a 4-letter word that's already been defined as, shit or something like that. But I said, you can make any 4-letter word be what you want. I said, like, ooh, knee.
Your kids, right? What?
I bet you if you called them right now, they'd know exactly. They would look at me. Oh, I will have to let me tell you this. I got to tell you this. So anyway, David Lynch passed away, and I was like, thanks, David, for doing this, because all of a sudden, now, it's come out, or it's been out, or that David Lynch is a big meditator. So Tucker's really digging into it, and he's finding out that he said, wow, Mom, you aren't crazy.
And watch him be your biggest convert, as far as out of the kids.
Well,
that's so funny.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
No. And until someone tries it, you can't. Yeah. I find myself now with the level of awareness that I have now, and I will literally just start laughing at myself and go, stop talking. Because I'm trying to explain to people that are just like, I don't get it. What are you talking? I don't understand. How do you? But I want. They'll be in the want. They'll be in the stuff. Or the name it, claim it, or they're just wanting things, and it's just like
words don't teach. Sometimes they are the catalyst to cause somebody to go introspectively, to be able to feel it for themselves. And when you can get their resonance, which all resonance is their lining up of what they believe, attaching along with whatever it is, the words you might have said.
Yeah.
And when it resonates with them, shoot, they're on their own. You know, the book that Debbie's referring to right now is by Jamie Price, and she is a channel, and I met her in Sedona at the 1st of January at the channel panel, and I adored her, and I bought the book for Debbie.
And then and then reading that today, and there was like it was just really significant. All right, this is the book.
Yes.
So I will just read some of the phrases that I underlined today because it was like, holy Toledo. See? This is why I like books like this. Just go turn to the page and read. So I had to just read it from just where I was. So your choice is a vehicle of change as you shift your perceptions and perspectives affecting your experience of life and the frequency that is building form in the future. And when I read that, that is your language now. All of this is building the form. So it's already done. The particles just haven't come together yet, right? Light itself is as open and unconditional as love. When I read that, I went, oh my God, that was so powerful. And here was the final. The language of light helps you find your own quantum nature, indelibly connected to all life and yet unique. You make it the particle form.
The awareness by the alignment, and it is just ease.
Yeah. And that was so refreshing this morning because I still feel, even in the midst of everything that I do, there's just still that human side, you know, that you're just going, are you doing the right thing? Or are you crazy? And you know that you're not. But there's just still this element. And then you get these kind of things and you go.
Well, Deb, part of my crazy part, I'm able to see now that, no, I'm just, because I had to be over here, I can go to different groups now, and I'm like just as normal as vanilla dang ice cream, right? Whereas when I was in the corporate realm, I didn't let my light shine.
Yeah.
Thankfully, where I think it is so important, and you are opening that door so that your light can shine, and my light is the same. I'm just a tool that's thankfully is getting to use the modality that I'm using now, which is my breath, to people that are just like me. Man, if somebody had brought this to me 20 years ago, where would I have been? But it all happened exactly the way it's supposed to.
Exactly. In the workplace, why aren't you bringing all of you to work? Why would you leave? You would not cut your right arm off and leave it on the nightstand to go to work.
No.
It's like asinine even thought. And that is literally when we try, because we're not, but when we try to separate, my spiritual self has to go over here, can't take you, I'll come back and pick you up and put you back on. And then we go out, and that's why there's dissonance. And when there's dissonance, that's then where the dis-ease and you become miserable because you're completely disconnected.
Yeah, because there's resonance, which is completely in line, and there's dissonance, which is out of line. And when you're out of line, and that's when you're out of line, they're held in a unnatural state. And that's what causes the disease. Well, we ran out of time, but catch us again in 2 weeks when we record our next podcast, and we can't wait to see you then. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Life Redefined. Hopefully it'll help you in redefining your life situations. Reach out to us, send us messages, and actually, if you would, just like and share this so you can get it to some more of your friends, and we can continue doing this.